Welcome, everybody. Sorry that we're late. I believe that we're on Facebook Live right now. And we welcome you to this week's Inspired by Free Spirit Fabrics. We welcome all of our makers and sewing enthusiasts. We're always happy to have you. Thank you for joining us, and we apologize for our tardy start. If you joined us a couple of weeks ago, we had some technical difficulties, and we are this week as well that we didn't know. So thank you for being patient. We're excited that you're here. And this week we have Kaffe, Fassett, and Brandon Mabley are joining us live from London. And it's about 5:20, if I'm correct in my math, on what time it is there. And I'm joining you all from Charlotte, North Carolina. We'd love for you to tell us where you're from, because we always like to know everybody's tuning in from. We'd like you to send us some hearts and thumbs up and, likes, comments, questions, etc. while we're on live today. Kaffe is going to be talking to us about his brand new book, Kaffe Fassett in the Studio. I don't know if you guys can see this better or worse. I also have the cover behind me, as you can see. And the book is a fabulous book. When you're able to purchase the book, I'd strongly recommend that you get it. Kaffe can hear me, but we can't see him just now. It is a fantastic read. I have definitely read it, and I've absorbed so much of it. You learn so much about Kaffe, about his life, about his artistry, about all of the techniques and his textiles, everything that he has done in his life's journey. So it's really very, very fantastic book about so many different aspects of everything. So I'll let Kaffe talk to us about that in 1 second. I just want to let you know that we are live now, as I already said. We will be posting this to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and to our YouTube page. And Kaffe Fassett will also be posting this to their platform as well. So I just want to let you know that if you want to come back and view it again, by all means you can. Again, send us questions or anything that you have. I'd like to give a shout out to Zappy Dots. Have on the top, the glamping top, which we love. And if you have any questions, send them on in. If you have any questions about Free Spirit Fabrics, go to freespiritfabrics.com. If you have any further interests, as I'm sure you will, with Kaffe, you go to Kaffe Fassett, kaffefassettstudio.com, or Kaffe Fassett, guys, I'm sorry, is it kaffefasset.com?
Yeah.
And just go into there and look up all things Kaffe Fassett. So without any further ado, I am going to remove the pin from me, and I'm going to pin Kaffe. And Kaffe, you and Brandon are on live. So welcome.
Wonderful.
To our Inspired by, hey Brandon, hey Kaffe, you guys look great.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody in the whole wide world. It's amazing, these talks from our little studio room here, talking to the world. But this book I put together because every time I would give a talk, and remember the days when we did talks on stage and people actually reacted from the audience? Those were wonderful days, and I miss you all so much. But when I would give talks, people would say, "Where's the address of that studio? Can we come and visit?" And I would say, "Oh, I have work to get done. I can't give you all tea, or I'd never get anything done." So I decided I would make a book to show you the chaos and the creative madness that is in this house. And with most of my books, I try to do, whatever I can to show the way I work and some tips on the way I work. But I don't like really explaining things too much. But I do, what I've found wonderful to do in this book was to show people the way I live with collections of things, and also that those collections of things like pottery and old textiles and vintage quilts and things like that, they give me fantastic inspiration. And so I'm trying to show how I use that inspiration. So one of the things that this house is full of is needlepoint. And I thought if I could just find it here. Yeah, just to show you, this is one of the needlepoint projects that's in the book. It's done as a graph, but it also, you can buy a canvas and just come and stitch it yourself, which is really, really fun. This is a canvas that you would get. This is partially stitched, but I think you can see that it's printed with all the colors on it. So it's like painting by numbers. And even if you've never had the experience of working with needlepoint, it's something you can pick up very quickly. I've taught people in a few minutes how to do it. And with a little practice, you can really get good at it and make wonderful things. One of the things that I love is to make old furniture. You know, you buy a great old chair and cover it. This is one of my favorite projects.
That's beautiful.
I'm just trying not to have it glare. So you can see that there's fruits and vegetables all over this chair and how that looks. That's been in many museum shows, and it really is a spectacular piece. It was worked on with about 4 or 5 people in my studio. It took us about a month and a half to do the entire chair. So it's the kind of thing that is really a lovely way of painting with color and reproducing things that you find exciting and lovely in your life. Now, another thing that I get into in a big way is knitting. And this is a pattern that comes from the patchwork world. Most of you patchworkers will recognize that as rail fence. And I found a vintage quilt that I really loved, and it had little pieces of kind of shading colors. And I liked that idea very much. And so I did a knitted version of it, and the instructions for that.
Keith, can we elaborate on that? Because can you just hold it up for a moment? Because
sure,
you can see with the pattern, this is Brandon speaking.
Yeah.
It's a very easy pattern to knit because it repeats. You have 5, 5, 5, 5,
yeah,
and then maybe 10, and then 5, 5, 5. Knitted in intarsia, and the yarns are from the Rowan range in the Kaffe Fassett felted tweed yarns.
Yeah. This is another project that's in the book, looking at an old marble floor. If I can just rest that on myself. So you can see that it's like sort of marble with little
Snowball,
black and white checkerboards. Yeah, kind of snowball design, really. And that was really, really wonderful to knit with a limited range of colors that are all very, very soft and kind of marbly in color, inspired by St. Mark's floor of the cathedral.
Can you show the back? Because I know a lot of people would like to see.
Yeah. There's the back.
And see Sharon's attention gets really close.
and occasionally, you know, you'll have a really long hair hanging down. But mostly I try to tidy up as I go along and knit my ends in as I go along. So the technique of these pieces is not that complicated. Another piece I'd like to show you, a lot of times I work in very bright colors, and that's kind of what I'm known for. But I love very soft, very kind of neutral colors as well. And here you can see I've done a little checkerboard in 2 shades of gray and squares of big neutral colors. And I love this. It went on and on and on, and I just couldn't stop knitting it. And it was the kind of thing I would just pack up a bag full of yarn and hit the road and sit in places where I was getting a bit bored with the conversation. I would just knit myself into a dither. So there's the big, long piece of that.
This piece is actually for sale on the kaffefassett.com shop, gallery shop, if anybody is interested or needs to buy somebody a gift.
Beautiful.
The last piece that is in the book, which is the instructions are for this, and this is tumbling blocks, which is probably one of my most famous patterns. And I love knitting this. You can memorize the pattern very, very quickly, and then just concentrate on the colors. And with this, I doubled the felted tweed so that it goes really quickly, and it's kind of big and chunky and nice and cozy, warm for in front of the television at night.
Can we see your backside?
Yes. Oh, I don't usually show the backs of my work, but that's what everyone always wants.
I know it. Sharon suddenly got closer to the camera.
But you can see that the colors of this I took from an old Chinese painting that I've got, which I slightly upped the color, as is my wont. I'm afraid I do that very often. So that is the needlepoint and the knitting sides of things, which I cover, which are going on all the time. I find when I'm making a quilt, if I get a bit stuck on the composition, I don't know where to go with it, I'll just sit down and I'll knit maybe 5 or 6 rows of some complicated pattern that kind of puts my soul back together. And then I just put that away and get up, and I know what to do next on my quilt. So I find that these crafts go together very well, and they enhance each other. And often you'll see I will knit a pattern that comes from the vocabulary, the geometry of the patchwork world, which has given me inspiration for years and years before I actually got into patchwork. Now, the quilt that's behind me was inspired by all of the kind of inexpensive t-shirts you see around the world and dresses that people have been wearing for the last, say, 5 years. I've noticed a stripe, a kind of contrast stripe with a flower dotted through it in every conceivable scale. Sometimes huge, thick stripes, sometimes very thin stripes, sometimes blue and white, sometimes black and white, sometimes red and white. But I also collect china, and I get a lot of ideas from my porcelains. And England, of course, is a treasure trove. Wonderful. The kind of antique shops and flea markets you see here. And you can see here that this is this bold black and white stripe with a flower imposed on it. And I've got many different versions of this. And I find that that gave me the inspiration to go ahead and make a quilt like that. Now with this quilt, I fussy cut patterns that I've developed with Philip Jacobs. This is a wonderful pattern of Philip Jacobs, and I just took different flowers from this and fussy cut them so that you can see how there are different fussy cut patterns happening in this particular quilt.
It's a beautiful flower.
And that was one fabric, and here we have another, which is wonderful big irises. Very, very Japanese kind of feeling. But you can see that some of those lush flowers were wonderful for developing in the patchwork.
It's really beautiful.
And I love stripes, and this is a botanical bonanza of stripes. And so here we've got Philip Jacobs' big lilies. And you can see these stripes.
Beautiful.
And how those were cut out. You can see, in the different areas of the quilt, how those look. But my favorite fabric, and it's such a favorite that we've made this one into a classic. So that goes into our range that's always available. is called cactus flower. And that one, particularly this big white flower, is just so exciting and beautiful. And to me, the best thing in the quilt.
It's really beautiful.
So like here, you can see how beautiful that is. And there's another one down in this corner.
What's on the back?
That particular quilt, and we always like to put in fun backings. Here I've put a blue and white fan. It's called paper fans.
That's a perfect backing for that quilt.
Good.
Yeah, that's great.
That's what we aim for, perfection.
That's right. So I just want to let everybody know that that quilt that Kaffe is taking down is called Floral Stripe Quilt, and that is in his new book, Kaffe Fassett in the Studio. And wow, this one's quite stunning as well, Kaffe.
Well, this one was inspired by this really strange, talk about backings. This is kind of satin, but this is an old vintage quilt that I found in Houston Quilt Market when that used to be up and running.
Mhm.
And so this is really, really fun and simple. What I loved about it was the simple squares and brick kind of formations, and then this black and white border. I mean,
Right.
Black and white is becoming so exciting for us to work with these days. We've been playing around with very, very strong black and white prints, which is very odd for me, but I just love that cream and black border on that. And so this particular piece led to this. And of course, you can see I heightened the color and made it a very, very bright piece. And I've done it as a tablecloth because that one isn't quilted. And I just made this, so just backed it with my fruit mandala. And I just find that it's quite exciting. That's okay. It's quite exciting as a backing for this. And then this can just be a wonderful tablecloth. I mean, just make a party by putting it on a table and creating this kind of amazing, colorful table. I mean, just I could see great big bowls full of oranges and things like that sitting on top of this, and great flower arrangements.
It's really beautiful. And Kaffe, I think that it's worth noting that you've got primarily spots and jumble and some stripes in there. And I mean, I see a few of the other prints, Guinea Flower and Mad Plaid. So
yeah, it's mostly the classic small prints that I've used, and then made added the shot cottons to it. So it's it really plays with that range of the solids and the smaller prints, because we're usually using very, very big prints in our quilts.
that's really beautiful. And that's called Stamps and Bricks. And you said that that's made as a tablecloth, but it would certainly be great, as a tablecloth, as a quilt. You could bring it on a picnic, you could put it on a table, as Kaffe suggests. I mean, that's a beautiful quilt. And it's nine, it looks like 9 patches in the center, and then the strip piecing all around the outside of it. So that's
or 150 patch.
right, exactly. A lot of 9
a lot going on.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful.
And then that fruit mandala is very rich. That's 108-inch backing. That is, when you find the right coloring for the right quilt. I really love that. We've just done some beautiful new backings.
Yes, those will be coming out soon.
So then I come to the rail fence quilt, which I took from an old quilt, and that's in the book. And the old quilt has softer colors. So I have very, very bright colors. I really pushed the boat out with this one. But I think this would be beautiful if people were into a more muted palette, a softer, chalkier palette. And so the formula is just very simple. You have this block that is 1, 2, 3, 4 bricks, as it were, always ending with a dark one. And then that dark one, you see, creates that wonderful rail fence as you go up. And that's what I found exciting about the vintage quilt. It just had this wonderful pattern and this simple thing of gradations of colors, kind of going from light to dark, which I thought was a lovely way to explore color. Because one of the things about color, bringing it alive, when you have shades that are going deep to light, there is a real glow. You get a sexy glow out of the colors. And so that's just something that to do. I was just thinking, you could put this on your bed and then throw this around your neck and you would disappear into the quilt.
Right, exactly. Well,
But there you can see how the same idea. And that's, as Brandon says, a very simple knit. Now, another thing that's in the book is painting. And these still lives are really, I really enjoy painting still lives. I used to think about painting landscape and everything, but it rains a lot in England. And I didn't want an excuse not to go out painting. So I thought if I set up a kind of landscape on my studio, I can then go there and just paint it whenever, whatever the weather. And this was looking at these wonderful old ginger jars that I have, Chinese jars. These were cheap as chips, you know, when they first came out back in probably even pre-Victorian times. Beautiful vases, you know, to pack ginger into. And so it was just like a kind of throwaway thing, but they're so beautiful to me. Whenever I find one, I collect them because they have slightly different glazes and moods. And I just get so much inspiration from the Chinese world of pottery and Japanese and English. I have, you know, if you, what you'll see in the book is I have great collections of porcelain and china from all over. And also things like beaded bags and bits of ribbon and old vintage fabrics and vintage quilts, which I have drawers and drawers of. All of that just feeds my imagination. And these are things that I can bring back from my travels when we're allowed to travel. So it's a very exciting idea to make this house into a kind of treasure trove. And of course, we have many, many, many art books. And a lot of inspiration comes from those, you know, looking at the world of Oriental quilts and porcelain designs through the years. Or I've got books on African body painting and things like that. I mean, things like that give you wonderful ideas. The kind of ethnic cultures that have wonderful sense of design and a bold sense of design. The Africans are incredibly inspiring to me, looking at their work, and the Aboriginals in Australia and the American Indians and Mexicans and all of those cultures that are very playful with color. There's this wonderful, there's not a fear of color. They just really enjoying it. When I went through Guatemala and started collecting Guatemalan blankets and was seeing how the women would wrap their laundry and their produce from the market in these beautiful blankets in just outrageous colors. All of that was an inspiration, and I was able to bring some of those home to live with and to enjoy. So that's kind of what this book is all about is trying to show also our travels. And Brandon is a wonderful photographer. And so he's been able to photograph the kind of murals we would see on buildings, or just stacks of buildings, like we were just in Cuba. And there's just these amazing streets, colorful buildings in Havana that were just total inspiration of how, you know, very interesting colors
Also,
come
I think
together.
you're forgetting to credit all the people you work with. Like, there's an amazing group of people behind the K Fassett name. Ilaria, Julie Harvey, Jana Haig, working relationship with Liza, Philip Jacob. Although we only see him for 1 hour a year, he produces the most incredible artwork, and how Kay takes that artwork and translates them into the colors that you guys receive. So all that goes on behind the scenes of the big brand name. But if any of you have any questions about any up and coming events, go to kfassett.com events page. For instance, we're doing a cruise through the Panama Canal with World of Quilts, I think it is the name. Anyway, check out the website. It'll give you the information. Unfortunately, we won't be coming to the US this fall to do our usual workshop tour because of the regulations of people getting vaccinated or not. I had my second vaccination yesterday, so I feel like Popeye. But otherwise, all the information that you could put that you want, or any other. Oh yes, tomorrow. If any of you want to have an hour's worth of visual stimulation, we're giving a fundraising lecture for the Fashion Textile Museum, which is online. If you go to our website, you can get a link for that. It's a ticketed event with over 120 slides, taking you through our world of working with color and design. Okay.
And that's to raise money for this wonderful museum that was founded by Sandra Rhodes in the East End of London. And if you ever visit London, this is a wonderful place to go and check out. They always have incredibly interesting exhibitions on decorative arts and textiles and so forth. So I hope that you'll come and join us for that talk tomorrow.
That sounds awesome. Is it what time, Kate? Is it any time tomorrow? Or?
6 p.m. UK time, so it'll be an hour later than today American time.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1 o'clock. Well, Eastern Standard Time, depending on where you are in the States.
And it'll be at for about an hour and a half, and you will go away dreaming in color, hopefully.
Yes. Well, today's been a real treat as well. We don't have any questions as of right now. We've had a lot of really positive comments saying what a treat it is, Kate, to see you and hear all about your book. And it's awesome to see. I mean, as a maker, we can all see your knitting and however your knitting, your needlepoint, and how everything crosses back and forth into the quilting and the quilting back out again, and your paintings and your colorations, and just showing that vase and how it was the inspiration for a quilt is really amazing. So it's great that you shared this with us today. Thank you so much. Kaffe and Brandon, I didn't tell you this, but our viewers know. Unfortunately, I was not able to take myself off the screen today. So Kaffe, it's been you and I, so I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Well, they don't want to see me, they want to see you. So as everyone knows, we had a little technical difficulties this week. Hopefully for the future, we will get this all straightened out. So apologies to you, Kaffe and Brandon, and certainly to all of our viewers for this, but we still nonetheless are very, very excited to have had you, Kaffe and Brandon, of course. And oh, I also wanted to let you know that Philip Jacobs is saying hello from Snow Leopard Mountain.
Great, wonderful. All right, well, thank you very much, audience of the world.
Yes, well, thank you for joining us, and go enjoy your chicken dinner. And please, everybody, if you have any questions, go to kfassett.com or come to freespiritfabrics.com to see all of the beautiful fabrics that Kaffe has created and that you can go and purchase at your local quilt shop. So thank you, everyone.